welcome back. This is the Future Proof Podcast. This is a place where I talk with business owners and entrepreneurs about the journey, about where we've been and where we are and where we're headed. And I'm very, very happy to have a friend of mine that I connect with regularly and excited to talk about your story. Terese McGroarty from FranNet. Good morning, Therese.
Yeah, good morning, Brian. I just, as you said, friend, and for a long time, I think back, we have been friends for a long time. We've kind of been on a journey together, which has been fun.
Absolutely. I know I met you going through the Pat Schultz training where she was delivering the Bob Proctor Thinking into Results program, and in that same course we went through several other books together, through the U Squared book, through Think and Grow Rich, certainly, and
Think and Grow Rich. Yeah.
yeah, and part of the way both the Bob Proctor materials and Think and Grow Rich, and I'm sure others, kind of try to stick the landing is with the idea of masterminding and keeping that dialogue going. And I've certainly been very, very grateful for your willingness to keep a monthly appointment with me and let me stay connected to those goals and that part of my mission and that best version of myself that I'm aspiring to be, and trying to live up to everything that we learned in those rooms, right?
Yes, that's true. And I'm appreciative too. It's nice to be on a journey with other people, I think. It's not fun by yourself usually.
Well, and I've certainly conversationally had you talk about the business life that you led before, as far as running the gas station business and transitioning into automotive repair. What I didn't realize, and other than peeking at your LinkedIn a little bit, was 21 years old. 21 years old. You
21.
okay? Your entrepreneurial journey. Tell me about that.
I think the interesting part is the world was so different back then, right? You could do that. Um, I don't know that you could do that today, but my husband actually grew up in the Shell gas station business, and so it wasn't a leap. It was in his family. It was almost expected that that's what's going to happen next. His dad, I think a little bit like your dad too. All right, you've worked for me long enough now. Go go get in your own boat and figure it all out. And so with his family support, my parents support, we were able to come up with a funny money to buy our first Shell station, which was also an automotive repair. And we grew that to three Shell stations in, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years. Yeah, and it was an interesting journey. We learned so much, and again, maybe I don't know if it's equals to what you did with your dad, but my husband grew up in that business. He was 9 when his dad bought that business. For them, getting to pump gas was a treat because they all had to start out. Remember back in the day when you scraped um, the curbs so you could paint them all nice and white and all that kind of stuff. So, they grew up doing all of that. So my husband thought he knew how to run a business, and I believed him. We had a lot to learn, and and I do give ourselves credit because we were willing to learn it. Sometimes when you're 21, you're a little young and dumb and think you know everything, and you have to slow down and realize that you don't, and you need to learn.
Wow. So, on the one hand, you talk about this idea of continuity with his world, certainly. That were you guys fairly close in age? You know what I mean? You're 21. How old was he? About
He
the
was
same.
22.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, but there's this continuity where he's grown up around it, and his earliest working, life or whatever. That's certainly seeing what it is to perform the work that the business does, at the very least, right? Like, now where you talk about, again, what you don't know, how much of a peek behind the curtain did he really get in terms of running the business, right? To have you guys be prepared fully in that way. And I don't know these people at all, so none of it's meant as like, assumptions when I say how much did his dad even learn himself, because we all know the degree to which people go far along in business still making any number of their own mistakes, right? So whatever he had or hadn't been taught or absorbed, what was a day in the life like for you? And for you, it was all brand new, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was all brand new for me, and actually, I followed my dad's footsteps. I was working at the phone company while we bought this station, and and I was going to do the books at night, um, and I could see that my husband was drowning, not due to any other reason other than he really didn't know. How do you hire people and run the gas station and fix cars all by yourself? Well, we had one or two friends that came in and helped, but back then the business was open from 6 a.m. to midnight. You'd hire people. It didn't work out because sometimes you were taking the mirror test at the time, right? Did they fog a mirror? They could work. Um, and, so I ended up quitting my job, actually, so that I could go in and help them. And I tried to take a leave of absence, and the phone company wouldn't let me. And so then I said, well, then I need to quit. And so we quickly became a great team. He has great strengths. I have great strengths, and I could take up where he, we filled it. And it was really a great journey. I loved working with my husband. A lot of people say I could never work with my husband. We worked well together. We were a good team, and really made especially that station very successful, because he knew how to fix cars. So he knew how to hire the right technicians to fix cars and make things move quickly and well. Um, and he's a very relational person too. And bit by bit, we hired people that really, some of them are still our friends today, which is amazing. And we changed people's lives, and people changed our lives, which I love.
Well, and you mentioned growing to three locations over what sort of, I mean, how quickly did that evolve that you felt that confident to go,
Probably.
we can repeat this, Yeah.
Well, so probably over 4 or 5 years. It was quickly for the second one, I think. And really what it became was his, which was the one that did the automotive repairs, mine, and then the third one became ours. And the other two did not do repairs. So, they were much easier to manage. And they weren't that far from each other. But when the Shell came to us and said, look, we have this other station over here. Oh, that guy's leaving, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to fix cars there. Sure. Yeah, we'll do it. I mean, that's kind of how our whole business life has been. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. I don't know why, but that's how it was.
Well, okay, and so the Goodyear transition, then you have three locations actively running at that point in time. Help me understand that move and the logic behind it.
The logic was that we didn't like being open 24 hours. And so, sometimes you have to know when to say when. And I mean, our next agreement that we were going to sign with, well, actually, I think we already were open 24 hours and we hated it. And, I mean, that's the deal. Sometimes when you're with a franchise, you have to agree to certain things. When we signed up, it wasn't 24 hours. 10 years later, the rules change and you can either agree or not sign. And so we decided to sign, but we also decided that we were going to look for somebody to buy our businesses.
So they stole that midnight to 6 a.m. slot from you guys, and you said, okay, yes, but we're going to figure out our exit strategy.
And because our businesses were successful, they were easy, to sell. We had friends that, knew they were successful and, decided that they wanted to buy them. So, and we knew we were going to buy this Goodyear. Someone helped us, at the time. Goodyear was also a franchise and looking to grow. And we opened a brand new building and everything. It was over in Cleveland Heights at the corner of Warrensville, Mayfield, and Noble Road. So we opened that. And, and so then we even gained a Sunday, which was nice because
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the transition.
With raising a family then as well, right?
Yeah, because we didn't start our family, until after that, to be honest. We didn't start a family until 97, and we started our Goodyear in 93.
So it was the Goodyear era in parts. That's yes.
And you're probably too young, but there used to be I think it was Spitzer used to have a commercial, with his kids all the time. And what was it that he said? Oh my gosh, I don't remember. But we did the same kind of commercial then with our kids. We set them on a tire and said, buy tires from my dad or something like that. It was, everything was more family back then.
Well, and I remember the one time I met your husband, we were all together at Mapleside for like an expo, right? So I'm going to jump around a little bit because to this day, he's still at the very least was doing some like consulting with, fast forward to the present, you know what I mean? What was that event, and refresh my memory on it?
Yeah, actually that was a chamber event. That was, I think, a Brunswick chamber event. And so he was working for someone in automotive repair shop in Brunswick. And I think that guy asked me if I would man his table because, that's what I do. And I said, sure. It was good for me to meet, different people. But yeah, he is still in the automotive world. He really loves helping people understand about what their cars need or don't need, and all of those things. So yeah, he's still in the automotive world. Someone had asked us, as we grew our family, we lived probably about 45 minutes from that Goodyear store. And so as we grew our family, it was just kind of a lot to be that far away from home, make that travel every day. And somebody who wanted the Goodyear store when we got it came in one day and he said, look, I really want your store. What would it take? And so him and my husband worked out a deal, and we sold the Goodyear. For us at the time, retail just began to get tiring. It was also during a time where people were always accusing you of ripping them off. I can remember one day a lady, I was telling her, by the way, just want to let you know, you have a headlight out. If you want us to replace it, we can. And she says, my headlight worked when I came in here. And oh my, ma'am, if I was going to take advantage of you.
Right. We've got tiny little, devices to shut it down. You caught me. Yeah.
We were just done. We were done. Or I was done, maybe would be a better way to say it. And so we sold it. And he actually did go into training, coaching small businesses. But then 2008 hit, and small businesses couldn't afford that kind of coaching. So now he's, just back working helping somebody, working in somebody's business.
Well, and it all ties in. I mean, and I want to get to the present in terms of the FranNet side of it as well. But I want to mention a couple things while I'm thinking of it, which is one that, whether it is that side of your shared world, or things like what you do with the job seekers group and all of that stuff. Like there's a lot of continuity in terms of being part of the the business world and helping businesses grow. And one thing that I thought was kind of special about the story that you told is also about the collaboration, that it sounds like, yeah, you said it yourself, that you guys proved to make a nice team. And I know plenty of people, here in 2026 that I feel like couldn't handle, guys in particular, who typically would be the ones who couldn't handle that situation because of ego fragility. You know what I mean? That the fragile male ego would typically, from my perspective, be the reason why that situation would prove untenable. And um, so even without knowing your husband, other than meeting him in passing, I'm sitting there in my mind going like, he must be a shockingly like modern and like reasonable man. You know what I'm saying? To just be able to be great at what he was great at and not be threatened by you being great inside that dynamic, to me is something again that like in any generation there's plenty of guys that can't hack it when it comes to that. So kudos to your husband and to you both for finding a great team in business and home. That's really impressive.
So a little sidebar. We went to see The Devil Wears Prada.
He's not that great. Yeah, you're like, hold on a second.
We went to see the movie The Devil Wears Prada 2. I said, do you want to go see it? No, sure, I'll go see it with you. And I was surprised at how many husbands were there. I just did not picture that it would necessarily be a guy movie. And I told my husband, I said, well, I guess there's a lot of good husbands here tonight because there was a lot of couples. And, I just think that, gosh, you miss out on a lot if you let your male ego get in the way.
No doubt. Not just inside relationships, but in life in general. Yes.
Exactly.
So I want to talk about FranNet. You can tell me about how you got involved in it, but I also want to make sure that we're just spending time on like right now today. Who do you help? What stuff do you care about? Who are you trying to meet? Tell me about, FranNet in your current world.
So I'd like to tell you first that, and I don't even know if you knew this or not, but, I was a lunch lady just before I became a FranNet person. Making minimum wage because I wanted to be available, to get my kids on the bus, get my kids off the bus, be off during the summers when my kids were off, or spring break, Christmas break, whatever. And so this opportunity came to me actually from my Goodyear business manager. He was downsized from Goodyear, and he bought FranNet as a franchise. So he owned all of Ohio except for Columbus, I believe, at the time. And he said, I need somebody in Cleveland. Would you be interested in doing that and doing this? And yeah, sure. Yeah, again, yeah, sure. Obviously I did a little bit of homework and things like that. But, so to go from earning minimum wage, because it's what my family I felt needed, to being able to earn a 6-figure income, it is pretty spectacular. And I think that that's what a lot of, especially women, have made choices. And I'm not knocking any woman's choice. I mean, they don't realize the possibilities is what I'm saying, that you could own a business and still take care of your kids in the manner that you want to take care of your kids. To be available. There are businesses out there that you can do that. Um, and so that was the only reason why I decided to do this opportunity. Um, but really, what I love is opening people's eyes to the possibilities, especially right now when people are, fed up, for a lack of a better word, with corporate America. They're, working, you lay people off and they go, here's more work for you. There's no more money, but here's more work. And and they want you to be tethered. I remember when my sister, worked for the phone company, she had to take her work phone with her on vacation. She may not have worked all day, but if she had to take a call, she had to take a call. And those kinds of things. So, what I do is talk to people about what business ownership could be for them. What role do you want to play as a business owner? Um, Not everybody can network like you do or I do. It's not a comfort level for them, so they may need more of a digital marketing type business, or they may need to hire somebody that can do the networking for them. But talking through all of those things, when we got out of the Goodyear, I told my husband I wouldn't go into business anymore unless there were no employees and there were no customers. And he said, well, what's that leave? And I said, I have no idea. But it took, probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years before I found this. Um, and this is exactly what this is: no customers and no employees. Um, so it's knowing what you want, and sometimes you don't know that unless somebody can sit down and talk with you about those things. Like, how many employees do you want? A lot of people love helping um, seniors, so there's assisted living, or helping people going into their homes. And but that's not what you're going to do as the business owner. You're going to have employees doing that. So you can have a passion about wanting to help seniors stay in their homes, understanding that that's really not going to be your job. You're going to be training, motivating, encouraging people to do that. So that's really what I do. No longer really can, you know, when we went into business, you could work in your business, right? Like, my husband worked on fixing cars. Now, as time went on, he did it less, but he still could. You can't have your um, head under the hood anymore and manage the business. You just can't. There's too many things going on, too many things that you have to do to get business. So you need that executive. Franchises are looking for executives, not somebody to come and fix the cars or be a handyman.
Not technicians. And I don't even mean technician again in the specific automotive sense, but yes, the people doing the work of the business.
Exactly. So that's what I help people understand, because a lot of times they don't even realize that they have the thought that they're buying themselves a job, and that they are going to be being the handyman, or they're going to be the caretaker, or those kinds of things. So really trying to first educate people into what is the role that you want as a business owner, and understanding that you can have, it's hard work, but so is working for corporate America. But now you can have the freedom and the flexibility to work when you want. So for instance, I'm taking Friday off. Well, so I might work a little bit harder during the week so I can take Friday off, but I don't have to ask anybody if I could take Friday off, right? I can just do it.
No, I love that. And what one thing I remember feeling as a consumer prior to meeting you is a broad perception of franchise equating to more food service than anything else somehow. And I don't know that I'm a unicorn in that regard, or if that is kind of what's in a lot of people's heads. Obviously, even in this conversation, you've talked about the gas station and sort of like, well, yes, Shell is a franchise, Goodyear's a franchise, like, you know what I'm saying? Um, but how broad ultimately of a menu truly is there as far as things that are franchised? Is it unlimited? You know, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. I mean, you think about the sign business, is franchises. There's pet industry, the pet industry is very franchised. Um, the athletic, you take um, Anytime Fitness, fast signs, um, Pet Supplies Plus, I mean, those are all franchises that we don't even really realize. And yet people will think Chipotle is a franchise and it's not, or Chick-fil-A is a franchise and it's not, right? So, yeah, it's just a matter of almost everything is a franchise, dry cleaning. And I think that people should hopefully recognize too that when you're looking at um, a fast signs or a Anytime Fitness, those are usually locally owned. It's a person that is giving back to the community, which I think is wonderful. GM is no longer hiring people. Ford is no longer really hiring people, but it is the small business owner that is doing the hiring and giving back to the community.
Well, and you know that was another thing. That's you bring that up, and it reminds me of when I was doing the work with Crumble, and I've talked to Nate on this show, right? It's like, but Nate's a local guy raising his family in Bay Village, Ohio, with 6 kids in local schools. You know what I'm saying? He's a leader in his church. It's like all of these things, and yet, like, you'd still have people that are like, well, just to finish the thought, okay? The thought is when people come in and they go, shop local, don't support. You know what I'm saying? And on the one hand, I don't want to condemn that sentiment or vibe, right? That the shop local concept is important, but it is also a reality that it's like these are not faceless drones. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is absolutely still your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? And it's a weird distinction. As much as anything, what I've personally come away feeling like is of course, like, I want everybody to win. So like I'm rooting for the underdog, right? That small business, shop local represents. Of course I am. But if anything, part of me, and at risk of sounding like a jerk, it's like part of me feels like you just didn't even do enough research to make a decision. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like half the shop local, like these little places come and go because, like you're describing, like you help educate people about like what it is and what it isn't, and even back to that E-Myth book, and one of the big examples that always stuck with me was that, Sarah the baker, and the story about how much that underscores the notion of saying being good at being the technician, the baker of the pies, the person who loves grooming dogs. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I do want you to win, and I do want to support your vision, but like that doesn't necessarily change a objective reality that like those skills and these skills are different skills, you right? And
Well, and I like that you brought that up. I mean, because I think about Sarah the groomer. And Sarah the groomer has a place. Maybe she couldn't afford a franchise or she didn't want a franchise, right? But she is still your local groomer, local business person, um, grooming your dog and taking care of your dog. As a and then you have one of my clients owns Aussie Mobile Pet Grooming, which I think just changed their name to Bark and Maine. But at any rate, and she started with one van and is now up to 9 vans and takes care of, I don't know, from Brecksville all the way out to Mentor, with her vans of grooming dogs. They're two great local business people, and probably two different price points, right? Um, and so, that's the great thing about, we have the ability to shop wherever we want. Just know your place, right? Know your place. Know that if you're going into a bakery because everybody said you should because your cookies are so good, well, know that now you're not going to be baking the cookies. And is it that you want to hire, you want to fire, you want to order supplies, you want to pay the bills, and handle all the customer stuff? Is that what you want, or do you want to make cookies? Right? And there's nothing wrong with, if you want to make the cookies, then keep making the cookies, but don't open the big business.
And that's the key, right? Is just having the clarity around what decision you're actually making. Yes.
Exactly. I say I help more people not go into business than go into business.
Sure.
Yeah, because it is an education. And once you realize what's all involved, sometimes you're just not up for that. And that's okay. Um, when I work with people, I tell them that this is really a learning journey that occasionally turns into a buying journey. Not everybody buys a franchise. Owning a franchise isn't for everybody. In as much as, starting something from scratch wouldn't be for me. Um, I need help with the structure. Some people are great at starting their own business, and growing it to something large. So everybody, you need to know your lane, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Well, and you mentioned executives earlier from the franchise perspective, right? Of saying that is maybe the, broadly speaking, ideal persona of somebody who's going to really thrive in that environment. So just please articulate, yeah, who are you most looking for in terms of people that, for anybody hearing this, right, you know what I mean, at any point in time, would sit there and make that connection and go, got it, somebody who is this, I should introduce to Therese. Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't like to say just executives because there's managers. There's, I've worked with people in their 30s who have been who are excellent franchise owners. So, it's that person that's thinking about becoming a business owner, but they don't know sometimes what they want to do. They don't know where to start, and they have ideas rolling around in their head, and they just don't know. So I typically, most of my clients are that executive who has been downsized or knows that it's coming. And, but there are also those people who have a dream to be a business owner, and they just don't know where to even start to think about it. Or there's many people that assume they don't have enough money. There's many people that think that opening a franchise is $500,000 or whatever, and it is not $500,000. There are many businesses, franchises that are between that 50 to 100. The sweet spot is probably 150, $175,000. But you don't have to have all $175,000. There's funding. There's the SBA, or all those kinds of things that you can do.
Not so out of reach. Yeah. 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 But ultimately, no, it's important, for that specific goal or goals in general, right? Like, that's something, again, we've talked about in our thinking into results and all the mindset training, is you don't always know every step, between here and where you're trying to go, and it's trying to find meaningful ways to move in that direction, and understanding that you'll have to make these pivots and things along the way. And I certainly talk a lot about the idea of picking goals carefully, right? So that you can pick yourself back up off the floor at a moment of running into a hurdle and stuff like that. To me, there's a greater tragedy. Number one, there's inevitability in obstacles and problems, or like that is will happen, right? You won't know what they are, but they will be coming. And so to set a goal in motion that has compromise at its core, like how will you feel during the inevitable setbacks and hardships and stuff like that if the foundation isn't one that, at risk of sounding corny, is just built on love, right? Built on such love of the vision and what it means to you and all the things that come with it, that you can keep going, right? And be a hero in your own journey. So with that in mind, tell me about where your ship is headed, Therese, and what worlds do you still wish to explore and yeah, tell me about your goals.
Yeah, I really my goals are to help as many people as possible make a decision. In the business world, that's my goal. I probably only help about 6 people a year um, make a decision to buy a franchise. I'd love to help, more. And as far as my other life life goals, life is about learning, and I just consider myself to be a lifelong learner. I love to read the Bible. I've probably read it through a lot of times, and every time you read through, you go, how did I miss that part last time? Right. Or even Think and Grow Rich, which was a book we did with Pat. I mean, an amazing book. As we know, Bob Proctor carried that around like it was his Bible. And it's a book that could be done again and again and again. My goal is just to continue to be a lifelong learner and to always, be a cheerleader for other people. Um, because when you stop doing those things, you're not really living, in my opinion. I don't have any grandiose travel things. I love taking little vacations here and there to Florida or Arizona. That's where I have brothers, and so I like to go visit them. And I love going up to Marblehead. And I have a granddaughter, just one grandchild, and I love spending time with her. She's a lot of fun. So yeah, those are my goals, really. I don't know if that's what you're looking for or not.
No, absolutely. No, are you still, when you mentioned something like, I like thinking of, if we talked again like this in 5 years, is there something specific that I could follow up on, right? And so I'll ask in the business space, do you see yourself moving that number of people helped per year from 6 to 10, or you know what I mean? Like some shift in that sort of volume. Would you like where you're at? Yeah.
No, my goal is 12, to be honest. Yeah, my goal is 12. Our business has changed a lot over the since I started. This is my 12th or 13th year since I started. And when I started, there weren't as many consultants. FranNet was actually the founder of our industry. We, his name was Howie Basket, I think. But he came up with this idea of helping people explore franchise business ownership back in the 80s. And and then slowly we became a franchise. So bit by bit, there's more and more consultants out there. Most of the other groups are not franchised. But so our space has become very crowded, kind of like real estate, right? Everybody thinks that they could be a realtor. Everybody thinks that they can help people. I think that the advantage that I have is that I've been in business before, so I know what it's like to start from scratch and grow. And you know, I don't know. That's my advantage. But I would. So now we are in a place where I used to be that you could network and get enough clients, and now we have to do LinkedIn mining and all of those things to find clients, which is not my fave, to be honest. I really enjoy networking, and people go, "Oh, didn't even know you existed," which is also pretty cool about my business that a lot of people don't even know I exist.
Well, what are the places that you'd like people to engage with you and find you? What's the best website, good email? Like, what are some spots that are okay for people to connect with you?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is a great place to go. Terese McGroarty, and then also TMCGROARTY at FranNet, and that's with two N's, FRANNET.com, and are both great places to connect with me.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to share your story, and I really value the work that you do. Has tremendous alignment with I don't know. I think that the value that you add to individuals, to your point, whether they become customers or not, is really, really valuable. And that's stuff that I talk about, that even if I were, the proverbial, like, if I won the lottery, would I still do this stuff? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, like, even if the number of hours would change, that's something that is enough a part of who I am. And you radiate that energy, right? That you like to help people, and I think that the experience that you have, indeed, is what separates you from the pack, and the lifelong learner stuff I've seen firsthand. And so, yeah, I think the world of you, and value the work that you do, and I appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really enjoy spending time with you. You make me think all the time. So I'm thankful that you asked me to be on your program.
Thank you, Therese.